My next guest, Fernand Amandi, a Miami-based research and polling expert with national and international clients. Our focus first, Florida, of course, and we start with the question some Democrats are murmuring. Does Kamala Harris put the Sunshine State in play this November?
Well, it certainly makes it a closer race having her on the ticket instead of Joe Biden. Whether or not that means she can carry Florida, I'm not sure I'm ready to go there just yet, Michael. But the fact that she makes the race a lot closer has implications, not just for Florida, but for the country, because what it means is that now we have races in different parts of the state that may actually flip to the Democrats that otherwise might not have.
And we should say your primary work is as a pollster for Democrats, fair, but you give us always a very thoughtful, sober look at all sides of that map. Having said that, you said you're not ready to go there yet. I presume it's in part because the Republicans have done a very good job in Florida on registering voters, and they now have something like 1 million plus advantage over Democrats in terms of registered voters. So that's why you think it may be too big a hill to climb for Kamala Harris or others?
I mean, it's undeniable. This is a Republican state. It's not just a Republican-leaning state. The Republicans have total control of every aspect of state government. They've won, Michael, 31 out of the last 38 statewide races this century in Florida. Democrats haven't held or won a governor's race in over 30 years. So when you put all of those things together, it really means Florida is a really tight lift. On top of that, I just don't see the Harris campaign deviating resources, Michael, from these battleground states that they are playing in to try and win Florida on a wing and a prayer.
So all the talk that Florida might be in play might be as much the kind of pregame, frankly, media story and media line that just doesn't bear up against the facts on the ground.
Well, like that famous James Bond movie title, you never say never. There's always a possibility that if a national tsunami blue tidal wave takes place across the country, states that you hadn't anticipated going Democrat, like Indiana, Iowa, maybe even Ohio, Texas, Florida, they fall with it. But I don't think it's going to be because of anything the Harris campaign proactively does in terms of time investment or dollar investment in Florida to win Florida.
Talk about the Scott Mercosal-Powell U.S. Senate race, the big statewide race here. Thoughts there on how competitive that will be? Again, given the Republican voter advantage here, will we see a even more potentially competitive race there?
Well, you got to remember, Rick Scott doesn't have the greatest mandate margin victories when he's run for Florida statewide office, whether it was as governor or even the last time when he won the Senate seat against Bill Nelson. He's never won by more than 2 percentage points in any election. Whether this one will be different still remains to be seen. But here again, I think the question is, will, in this case, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the DSCC, look at this race and say, you know what, we've got a good candidate in Debbie Mercosal-Powell, which they do. We've got a candidate that can appeal to Hispanic voters, which she does. She speaks the language. She's been elected in South Florida. She does well in this region. She just won a commanding primary. But will they invest the resources to help get her over the finish line? Until they start to do that, I remain a little bit skeptical.
Talk about the issues we all tend to, guilty as charged here as well in the media, talk about the polling and the horse race. Talk about the issues driving races in Florida and beyond. We hear so much about economy and immigration. From your perspective, as you talk and poll voters, what will be the ultimate decisive matters upon which voters will make their choice?
You know, at least here in Florida, I think it is unfortunately going to just come down to the partisanship, much more really than any other issue. Because, Michael, I mean, we've seen here in Florida, voters are apoplectic about the cost of insurance, about the cost of home affordability, all of these elements that, you know, the Republican Party, which is in total control of the state, you would think would have some metric of accountability for, but the voters don't ever seem to pass that buck along those lines. It just tends to be more of a tribal political partisan viewpoint and outlook. And I think that's what you're going to see play out here. If Democrats feel absolutely charged and engaged, independents follow suit as well, and they just said, we've had enough of Trumpism, then I think that's where you can see a state like Florida surprise a lot of people and go the Democratic way. But otherwise, I think the partisan patterns hold, and the Republicans are still the favorites to hold Florida in November.
Amendments 3 and 4, recreational marijuana, the debate over abortion with Amendment 4. What is your sense right now as we sit here getting ready to head into Labor Day and then the post-Labor Day period where people really begin to focus in a different kind of way on whether those have a chance of passage. 60% of the vote needed in Florida. It's a big hill to climb. Where would it stand right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a higher threshold. And to be honest with you, Michael, the polling has really been kind of all over the place. You've seen in some polls it pass with room to spare, 68, 69% support. Others, it's barely over 55, somewhere between 55 and 58, 59, which would be just below the threshold. I'm still bullish on the Reproductive Freedom Amendment passing here in Florida. Even though I do think that there's going to be mounted opposition against that one, I see it happening because what I've seen in my research is there are a lot of Republican voters who are going to pull the lever for Donald Trump that are going to vote to protect a woman's right on those issues. I know it may sound a little bit incongruent with how the media wants to cover that issue, but it's not one where the vote is transferable completely. On the other hand, the marijuana issue, if one is going to not pass with a 60% threshold, I think it does get a majority no matter what. But whether it gets the 60% threshold depends on the opposition campaign. We've seen folks like this new transplant billionaire, Ken Griffin, say he's going to spend millions of dollars to stop it. Of course, Ron DeSantis has declared his total opposition. So depending on how that mounts and how that organized opposition presents itself, that one I think has a tougher hill to climb to cross that 60% threshold.
Griffin, hedge fund out of Chicago, now making his home your neck of the woods down in the Miami area. Talk a little bit more about that theme, because I think at least nationally, there's this sense, well, if people are energized on the abortion issue and their ballot measures across the country, there tends to be a presumption among some, oh, that automatically means that favors the Democrat. And you just pointed out something. That's not necessarily the connect there. Or nationally, might it be in other states, if not here?
Well, I mean, look, we've seen this in other states across the country, whether it's Kansas or Ohio recently. These are states that had that abortion amendment when it was put on the ballot pass overwhelmingly. Yet I don't see the Harris campaign or Democrats having any hope that they're going to, win Ohio or Kansas this electoral cycle. So I think there's enough case studies to show that even though a lot of voters are open to this, whether it may disagree with their party's position, they themselves are a little bit more aware of it. And that's what I think might happen here in Florida.
Before we move on to the national perspective that you're able to offer after so many years doing this, what else on the Florida perspective that I might be missing that you think's germane for all of us to be thinking about?
Well, you can't forget one thing. I mean, Florida is now Donald Trump's home state. I mean, the longtime New Yorker has called this place home for at least the last 4.5 years. So there's going to be a source of personal pride. This is his comfort zone state. You notice that sometimes when he wants to go off the campaign trail, he'll do events here in Florida because this is where he feels comfortable. So I just really don't see the Republicans necessarily letting the place where he lives and would be the ultimate humiliation fall by the wayside. So that's what I'm looking at really carefully here.
And with 30 electoral votes, it is a mighty big prize, and it's a different kind of hill Democrats would have to climb in other battleground states if they hope to win. So let's jump off in our remaining time. National picture, what do you see in terms of the race tightening up in battleground states? Which ones do you think will end up being the battlegrounds? We typically say Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Some say that Kamala Harris is putting Sunbelt states back into play. So which ones do you see on that map? Where do you see the race being, and the issues nationally that ultimately will drive people, especially that small group who truly are undecided, to get out and vote one way or the other?
Michael, I always think it's sometimes important to take a time out and just observe the incredible phenomenon that the last 30 days have been. I mean, think about it. 30 days ago, Joe Biden, or just over 30 days ago, was still the Democratic nominee for president. And, Democrats were feeling totally downcast over their chances. And 31 days later, it's now a brand new race. I have seen, and I think others have seen, obviously, we see it reflected in the polls, a monumental shift, not just in the polling, but in the enthusiasm, the momentum, the just prodigious amounts of funds. Over $500 million have been raised in 30 days for the Harris campaign. That's a staggering sum. And that's why, for context, I just think it's important to realize we are living through a moment that I've never seen in my life. I doubt has been seen in the life of many Americans that are alive today. So you got to take that into consideration. Now, as to the actual race, yes, I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout for either side, and certainly not for the Harris campaign. But when you look at what are the states that are being looked at, focused on, targeted, where every resource is being deployed, real simple. The big blue wall states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Those are going to be where the titanic struggle is done. If Democrats hold on to those 3 states, they're likely to get the 270 electoral votes. The second tier import states that have emerged now as super targets are also Arizona, North Carolina, kind of a surprise on the board, given how it's performed over the last couple of years, and then Nevada and Georgia. That is where this race will ultimately be decided in those 7 states, and that's where the bulk of the efforts over the next 75 days are going to be concentrated.
We'll be back in a moment. Thank you for being with me on this edition of To the Point. As always, wishing you and yours a great day and a great week.